Welcome back to the podcast. This is season 3, episode 7. We're sponsored again today by Capture One, so thanks, folks. Although they're not going to be thanking me later in this video because today is the day, as agreed at the start of our sponsorship, where I get to ask their techs whatever the hell I like.
Yeah, nothing like putting the tech guy on the spot.
They've not even seen the questions up front. We're just going in cold. So that's going to happen today. We're also going to talk about a load of other topics. We're going to talk about, there's always that one photographer or videographer or person that you get a little bit obsessed with, not in a good way, in a slightly toxic way, because we'll go into that, how to deal with that. We all do it. I do it. Everyone does it. There's a way to deal with it. But that person who just seems to be beating you at every single hurdle and is just making your life a living hell. Not that they don't even know you exist probably, but there's always that one person, isn't there, on socials, and it's like, you kind of hate follow them.
Well, that was you for me. Yeah. Back in the day, ironically.
Still, yeah.
That Scott guy's good. Damn him. Hate him so much.
Well, we'll go in how to deal with that, because I think that's a big thing. It's something that comes up a lot in my one-to-ones, actually. We're also going to look at what other professional photographers are shooting on, and this will be proper working pros. Probably not anyone listening to this has heard of. It won't be YouTube photographers. This will be actual working pros. I'll do a screen recording as well, so those on the YouTube land can see the work. Everyone else, you're going to have to Google it. I love to pretend that I'm going to put a link to everyone's work in the bottom of this, but we all know I'm going to forget or not bother because it's really boring to do. We're then going to look at what nobody tells you about making it in professional photography, because again, from the one-to-ones I'm running at the moment, we've just started a new batch on the mentorship program. There's a lot of misconceptions about what it's like to make it in photography. We're going to talk about transitioning from part-time to full-time photography, and we're going to talk about daily carries. And I'm not talking about firearms here for those over in the States. We're talking about what we take with us day to day as jobbing photographers. So where shall we? Let's do it in order, shall we? Should we do it in chronological order?
Yeah, let's go chronologically.
Let's go in chronological order. So that one photographer you hate. There used to be this guy that used to drive me absolutely nuts. I absolutely, in hindsight, I hated him because he was getting all the jobs I thought I deserved. But in hindsight, he was better than me. But we all go through this phase where there's that one person you're just like, I hate them. And you get a little bit fixated on them, and you perhaps look at them a little bit too much on social media. And I think it also changes. Like if you're going through a really bad patch in your career and all you're seeing is that everyone else is on massive campaigns, that's not a good thing either, I don't think.
No, I mean, I never quite had that same envy. I was like, obviously, imposter syndrome is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when especially when you're starting out and you decide that you want to kind of make some sort of career out of this. And as you know, I hunted you down.
Yeah.
At the Western Par Festival. I'm like, right, I'm going to go and make no money shooting pictures of the bands while you're there earning money shooting for security.
Yes, yeah. Who was with me that day?
It was just you, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Shooting for G4.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that. I remember the images, actually, oddly enough. I can't remember how I got the job, though. But yeah, G4.
It's like, obviously, like you start looking around at who's doing what and yada, yada, and obviously social media is the absolute barometer of all these things.
Oh, God, yeah.
And like, just your stuff just looked better. Because you were like, no, just one shot, Rob, because there's always one that's better than the rest, right?
Yeah, I'm very good at editing down.
Yeah. Whereas everyone else would post like, oh, I've been to a Western Par Festival, here's 1,200 pictures from it.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, mate, it's just the one.
That's
right.
If it's not as good as the other one, don't post it. And sometimes you might get 3 or 4 photos that are equally good, but most of the time you don't. Like just post the good one. I think it's good. And I think so. There's a couple of things to this. One is, if you're sat around doing nothing and someone's shooting a massive campaign, it's not like they're busy today. In a way, that job came in months ago. And all that time where you were seeing nothing, that's when they were excited about getting the job. By the time they're shooting it, the excitement's pretty much gone. It's like, in terms of financial incentive. There's also, I was speaking to someone a while ago and I was like, oh, you're so busy. And I was like, oh, I'm just reposting old stuff. And they're just hashing out old content. Like old behind the scenes. I thought it was a shoot they wanted. They weren't. It was just old content. So it's one thing to remember is it's never what it seems.
No, it's like, quote unquote, I wish my life was as fabulous as it appears to be on Instagram.
Exactly. And here's the thing I've noticed. So if you see me posting loads of cool stuff on Instagram, it's because I've got nothing on. If you see me posting nothing, it's because I'm doing cool
You're
stuff.
busy, yeah.
I'm always like, oh, I just did that really cool shoot and I didn't take a single behind the scenes picture. What an idiot. Or I'm like going, so I've got any pictures on the phone they can send me. And then by the time I'm posting that stuff, I'm probably just sat at home doing nothing. So there's that to remember. Now, the other thing is, it's not their fault they're doing more than you, better than you, whatever it is. Don't unfollow them. That's a real dick move, unfollowing people because you're jealous. And it is jealousy, let's be honest here. What you need to do, what the correct move in this situation is to mute them. So on social media, on Instagram, for example, you click on 3 little dots and you just go hide from feed until you're mentally in a place to be able to look at it again. Now, some people, like, it doesn't bother them at all. I think I muted one person last year because I was like, I cannot take the fact that you're doing so well whilst I'm having my worst year on history. And, you know, that's how it was. And I just muted them and I unmuted them once I felt better about myself. Ideally, just go off social media, but obviously that's not really an option in our career path.
Everyone loves a good doom scroll.
They do love a good doom. I'm so guilty. Like, my wind down before I fall asleep is a doom scroll. And then I normally put on a podcast and fall asleep to it because my sleep is it's not bad, but I can't just go to sleep in a silent room. It's just, there has to be some sort of, I don't know, background noise. One of our children listens to Queen on repeat, Bohemian Rhapsody.
I mean, not.
Can you guess which one that might be?
Not only can I guess, but I was going to say, like, there are much better tunes they did than that one.
Well, I say that's one of the songs to listen to. He's got the greatest hits album. It just plays on loop.
Yeah. I mean, my personal favourite Queen thing is that as you know, I have an issue with immortality and, you know, deity complex. And Highlander, I think one of the best movie soundtracks of all time. I know his name. It's so good. And they were not the first choice to do the soundtrack for that movie. Don't know if you ever knew that.
I didn't know that.
Do you know who it was? This will make you laugh. Right, imagine Highlander with a-ha doing the soundtrack. They were the number one choice.
See, the thing with...
That's a very different film at this point.
The thing with a-ha is, which is a really awkward name to say, a-ha. So their big hit, Take On Me, is not the greatest music in the world. However, if you take away the synth, it's an absolute banger of a tune. It was over 80.
And the video was good.
The video is good, but the lyrics are insane. The melody's insane. The singing's impressive, but it's just dated by the synth. And there's actually a really good acoustic performance of them. And also, the lead singer from that band, he just got hotter with age. Like, what a dick. Like,
I know, right? I mean, check me out. The complete opposite of getting hotter with age.
It's me just crumbling away in the corner and he just gets better looking. It's the same with, is it Handsome, the band?
Oh, God, yeah.
They all got really good looking with age as well.
Yeah, they were like literally 4 when
they were children when they started. They were. But yeah, so back to the whole jealousy thing. Just hide them. Hide them. As soon as you go, I don't like looking at that, hide them. You don't have to look at it. It's not to be looked at.
See, I took the opposite approach. I'm like, I needed somebody like you to inspire me.
I think that's different. Yeah, that's very different to the sort of, like, if you're looking at someone going, oh, I really like them, I'm really into what they do, I want to be like that, that's different. It's when it starts to become negative and toxic. And I definitely think it's getting more like that as we spend more time online. And as the industry is so chaotic right now, because everyone's, you know, all the shoots at the moment are on hold because of tariffs, because it's like, there's a job we were supposed to do, but they don't want to push the product because they can't get enough of the packaging for the product because they are shoehorning their order onto a massive American order, which is now no longer happening. So everyone's like, oh, we can't afford the full price. We can only afford, like, we're talking about the things where it's the difference between a penny or 2 pennies, but when you're ordering millions of them, it's many pennies.
It's many pennies.
So they're like, well, we just got to hang fire and use the stock we've got, and we can't because it eats into our profit margin too much if we pay this other price.
I mean, there's so many like containers floating around outside of Los Angeles.
I know
that won't dock
can't dock
because that will start costing us a whole bunch of money if we dock it.
So there's a lot of that going on at the moment, and brands just going, yeah, we don't really have the stuff to sell. because they're going to have to get more of it, and it comes from China. Like packaging comes from China. It's the Leicester packaging company here. Guess where the actual packaging comes from?
Shenzhen.
Yeah. Any electronical goods, guess where they come from? Shenzhen.
I wonder. Yeah.
It's the same with dictation. If you need anything typing in English and it gets done in India, it's done in Bangalore. That is just the place you go to. You go to Bangalore, they've got the IT centres there. They've got all their workers' rights in place there. Like, if a lady has to work after a certain time, you have to get them a taxi.
You lived in China for a while, didn't you?
I did live in China.
Yeah.
I lived in Shanghai though. That didn't really produce much. Shanghai, obviously, it produces a lot, but not compared to like other like Shenzhen and stuff.
No, well, I mean, in Shanghai, there are areas up that way, Ningbo, etc., where they do produce a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Obviously, you deal a lot with buying from China.
Yeah. I mean, I was supposed to live out there, but
yeah, would recommend. It was a great time. I don't know if I'd want to do it now at my age. Yeah, I would. It was a good time. It's definitely recommend. I recommend everyone living abroad at some point. I don't think anyone should just live in their country of birth for their entire life. It gives you a very narrow view of the world. I'll never forget going to, it was like a dinner, a boozy dinner. And I sat down and someone was like, "Oh, who are you?" I was like, "Oh, I'm Scott." Like, "Where are you from?" "I'm from England." And I was like, "Oh, where are you from?" They're like, "One of the countries that hates you." And it was the first time I was like, "Oh, hang on, people don't like." And then I started to think back through history. I was like, "Oh, this does not narrow it down at all."
No. There's a smorgasbord of places you can choose that are not overly fanboyish when it comes to the British.
Yeah, so we did rape and pillage most of the world. We did some very bad things many times. So, yeah, in terms of like toxicity, go back to that. If you feel yourself going that way, just mute the person instantly. It used to take me a while to get around to doing it. I'd be like, "Oh no, maybe." I'm like, "No, just mute them." The second you feel like bad twang, just gone. But what I'd like to do now is talk about what other photographers are shooting on. I've opened up a load of tabs of people I know. And what I'm going to do is go through them and say, this is this photographer, this is what they shoot, this is who they shoot it for, this is what they use. Mostly. Everybody on here will use a different camera at some point, but these are people that I know what their daily driver is because either I've been on set with them, I talk to them, I know them, whatever it may be. So we're going to start off with Jodie, who has her own YouTube channel. If you search
I love her, by the way.
Oh, she's brilliant, Jodie.
You introduced me to Jodie. She's brilliant.
Yeah. Go and look at Jodie Mann, Mann. She's a fashion photographer, shoots commercially. She shot for like Nokia, the W Group, people like good photographer. She uses the R5 and her backup is a 5DSR, but she doesn't like the 5DSR. She likes the R5. That's her favorite file, mirrorless camera. And her work is beautiful. Now, I do know on a job that I did do with her, she used a phase 1. For a commercial job, but her daily shooter is an R5.
And if I'm correct, isn't she one of your clients?
No, she's one of the photographers at Agent at Large that I work with.
That's it.
Let's see if we can open his website here. We're trying to open Rebecca's. Whilst we're waiting for that, we'll go to Barry. I'm going to try. Can I try and say his name? Barry. Oh, yeah, I'm going to butcher it. I hope he doesn't listen to this. I'm sure he doesn't listen to this. I've just misspelled his name in the search tab there. This is going very well, isn't it? Copy, paste. There we go. Let's go to his website. There's Barry. That's not Barry. That's Barry. That's the Barry we know. So we'll open up Barry. Let's go to his drinks work. Now, Barry, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Barry, has just bought Carl Taylor's phase 1 off him, which is a weird YouTube link to the real working world. He had a phase 1, Hasselblad. He had a Hasselblad before that, but he's upgraded it to a newer version. Hasselblad's Hasselblad. They're all great, aren't they? So whatever Carl Taylor was shooting on recently before he went to mirrorless, this is what Barry now uses for his commercial work. You have had Carl Taylor on the podcast before now. We have had Carl. Carl's a good guy. I like Carl. Barry, I can't work your website, mate. What's going on? Food. There we go. Look at this. Beautiful. Detailed. Have we got Backblaze running in there still, Rob?
Most likely.
Would you mind going and pausing that for me?
Give me a second. There's only like 20 terabytes or something.
Yeah, we've got a big old backup. Whilst Rob's doing that, I'll keep showing you Barry's work. So Barry shoots loads of big commercial work, lots of video as well. The video cameras he uses, they're just based on the job. Video is really different. You need the right video camera for the right job. There's no sort of toing and throwing in that. You can't just go, well, do you know what? We don't need as much video. It's like, you need to do this. You need whatever FPS it is, or it needs to be able to fit onto this robot. So that's what you get. So that's what Barry does. Now, Rebecca, I met Rebecca on, I can't remember what time, on last week. She took my photo, actually. So Rebecca uses a 5D Mark III, 24-70 Mark II zoom lens, and a Pro Photo on-camera flash, like the little ones of that. Watching her work is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. She went, stand there, click, 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 done. That was it, done. And
a masterclass in efficiency.
Oh, the pictures look great. I've not got my phone to hand, otherwise I'd show you them, Rob. I can't show them online because they're for something private. But look, this is Rebecca's work. Great photographer, lovely person. Is she on there on the about bit? There you go. Shots for The Guardian, Vogue, Dazed. Very good photographer. Look, that's a bit of film. That's 6.7. That'll be a RZ. Why do I say RZ when it's an RZ, but everyone says RZ for an RZ67?
For our friends across the pond.
Yeah, but no, it's one of those weird things. Right, Andy Grimshaw uses a Sinar technical camera and a Phase 1 back. I know this because I've been on set and watched him do it. Very good technical food photographer. Quite classical in his styling. You know, very traditional, but there's still beautiful Heinz advert there. Very it's a perfect work, isn't it? There's no...
Still got like trauma for tomatoes.
Oh, from the Dolmio job.
Yes, from the Dolmio job. I'll never get over that, probably.
I had a memory pop up. It was pictures, because it was me, you, Holly. Shane was in on it for some reason.
Yep.
I don't remember him being on set, but he was in the picture. But yeah, so yeah, here, very technical camera, very technical photographer. Now, this is Antosh. Let's go, still life. Antosh shoots for Face Gym, for Lush. He's with AMP Represents. He's a long-time photographer. Good to go out for a drink with. Look at this work, beautiful. Do you know what he shoots on? Nikon D800.
Ah, the old school, the first 36 megapixel camera, whatever it was.
50mm prime, D800. Look how beautiful his work is. Look at that.
I mean, in fairness, if you bought a camera in the last 10 years, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. Now, again, I know when it comes to like, if you want to put it on Times Square, you do need a bit more pixelage.
But his goes on big billboards. His adverts he shot for Lush. Yeah. Anyway, beautiful work. Who have we got next? Howard Shooter. Howard is the chap who taught me photography for Food and Drink. He shot my partner's portrait for something with her, and maybe a book as well for her. And he was kind enough to jump on a phone call with me, and I'm sure he regrets it afterwards, as we maybe had some of his clients come to us. But he just went, if you want to make your food photos look good, get a really big soft light source to one side and make sure, and this is really obvious in hindsight, make sure the food looks good. Rather
than like dial into the minutiae of the technicalities of the image. Like,
make sure the food looks good.
What's the story? Do I want to eat that? Yes, you do. Then you're winning.
Exactly. I mean, his work's beautiful. The food always looks good in his work. The drinks always look good.
Oh, look at that cake.
I know.
I'll smash that right now. Don't have a problem at all.
That was for German doner kebab. So yeah, very, just always looks good, doesn't it? Oh, nice bit of moving. So very clean. And he uses a Phase 1 50 megapixel back and Pro Photo lighting. I've shot in the studio a few times. We rented it when I was with LPA. He's a good guy. Lovely studio to use over in Camden. Good photographer. Phase 1. This is Joe Whitmore, a fellow Leicester alumni. Joe's work's brilliant. He's a great fashion photographer. He shoots really, really good work. Do you know what Joe shoots on? He shoots with Pro Photo lighting, and then he uses a 5D Mark III and a 70-200.
See, that was my personal favourite iteration of the 5D.
It was a bang of the Mark III, wasn't it? It was the ultimate combination between price, efficiency, and build quality.
And had the most mature version of Magic Lantern.
Yes, yeah. I doubt Joe uses Magic Lantern. Does he do any video yet? No, he doesn't. It's like beauty work though, which is nice. Look at his beauty work. And this stuff here, where he's got this like shutter drag, that's using an LED. What are the LED lights we have called?
Cops.
No, the brand, sorry.
Nanlite?
No.
Aperture.
Aperture, there you go. An Aperture 500 head mixed in with this flash.
There's so much stuff here. Like, I'll
there's
get
a lot
there
of gear.
eventually.
There's a lot of gear here. But yeah, 5D Mark III, 70 to 200. He had that 5D Mark III when I first met him, which must be nearly over a decade ago. So
yeah, but that does track. I mean, it's like, I run 60s, and there's no reason to upgrade them until one breaks.
No, exactly. So, 5D Mark III, 70 to 200. This is Alexis. She uses a 5DSR and a Sigma 50mm art and a Godox flash.
One of the first big jobs I worked on one was the, what was at the time, the Dave Leicester Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And I blew the whole budget on that one lens. And I've still got it today. So, you know what?
The 51.4?
Yeah, the 51.4, yeah.
Yeah, so I bought that 51.4 and then we ended up having to sell it because it was too sharp. And we went for
as if your lens is too sharp. But
it was ridiculous. By the time we'd got enough depth of field at like f8 to f10, it was just too much.
Yeah.
Even at like 1.6, it was
well, I mean,
sharp.
anything above f2 was, it never got any sharper beyond that. It was just crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, this is Alexis's work. Alexis. And 5DSR, a lot of it is shot on a Fuji crop sensor camera. Again, I think she has a single Godox flash. You can definitely tell which ones were shot on a crop sensor and which ones were shot on a full frame. Like the difference in image quality between this here, which I guarantee was a 5DSR, and this here, which is a 5DSR, and then this here, which is definitely a crop sensor image. There we go. Now this is really out there. This is our friend, and he shoots Lego. This is a Super Duper Trooper.
Yes, Mr. Probe Lens.
Yep. He's got my probe lens actually, so I can't remember what it was. It's a Astra Hori probe lens, and he uses a Canon 7D. And I think he uses tiny little LED lights. I can't remember what they were called though. This is Phil Wrighton, so this is his stuff. So he shoots for the Lego magazines.
Yeah.
Does it all from home. Pretty darn good, aren't they?
It's also awesome.
Yeah, good stuff. Good shoots. He's probably got a couple of those cans of spray, the hazy sprays. I can print. So yeah, Canon 7D. It's a 7 or a 70D. I can't remember actually. I think it's a 7D. And then yeah, the probe lens, and I think he owns a 100mm Sigma art, not Sigma art, the non-art Sigma. It's like 105 macro from like back in the day. Yeah.
They weren't good lenses.
No, but the 100mm macro was. It was apparently sharper
if you
than the
manually
Canon.
focused it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it wouldn't autofocus.
No.
So, but yeah, there's some lookings. There's a look at what some people are using, because I think it's interesting sometimes just to see there is absolutely zero correlation between the kit they use and how good they are. They're all good in this instance, they're all good photographers at what they do. The kit they use ranges from the latest and greatest to really old, was never meant for pro use. You know, you've got everything from Sinars with phase backs all the way down to a 7D with a cheap Sigma lens.
Yeah, but it's never technically mattered. Like, at least in terms of like a website or social medias, like the most basic of cameras is good enough.
Yeah.
There's a website I use for film references. It's called Shot on What. And of course, anything that's won any award ever was always shot on an Arri.
Yeah, but I think the same can be said, like any major ad campaign is probably shot on a Hasselblad or a Phase 1, but it's just, that's what the rental houses have. You know, when you look at the Olympics, and everyone's like, oh, they're all shoot. It used to be always Canon and Nikon.
For sport,
yes. Yeah, now it's always Canon and Sony, because Canon and Sony have the rental houses at the Olympics. So you turn up if you're shooting for Getty and you go and collect your cameras from your rental house.
Yeah, I mean, Canon normally release a new iteration of the one series
just for
the Olympics. So, right, this is the new one. Yay.
Yeah, and yeah, that's just how it goes. So we're now going to dive into an interview I'm going to do with the lovely folks over at Capture One. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to ask some very awkward questions. You're welcome. If I haven't asked you a question, it's either because it's too specific for it to be of interest to lots of people, or I just haven't seen it. But there'll be some awkward questions in here. Let's dive in. So I'm joined by two lovely people from over at Capture One, and they're going to answer the questions that you all had to ask in the comments. One of the things I have done is I've generalized some of the questions because some of them were very specific, and I've kind of asked overarching questions which will cover the individual ones. So if your exact question's not here, it's because it was part of a bigger conversation and we're adding it in there. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves and let us know what it is you do? And
yes.
Yeah.
Should I go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Ines Carton. I work in Capture One for the last 10 years, and I work as an engineering lead, a manager. My team has been working with most of the AI that you have seen with Capture One up till now. So that is like AI masking, the skin masking or people masking, AI crop, match look, and at least part of the retouching, the new retouching feature.
And you have also been a developer.
Yes, I was also a developer, and sometimes I code it still. So
Yes, and I'm Alexander Fleming. I work as a product manager here in Capture One. I've been with the company for 12 years, so I've known Ines for 10 of them. We work in the same team where we develop and deliver efficiency features, basically. So AI features and other features that can help photographers work faster. And yeah, I'm also a photographer. I've shot a lot of weddings, and I was actually using Capture One before I started working here. So
that's quite true, because a lot of people say that Capture One isn't really made for wedding photographers. It's much more of a studio-based thing, but you've always used.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend who recommended Capture One because he was like, it's Danish, it's cool, it's way better. And I was like, okay, I have to check it out because I was obviously using Lightroom as well. And I think it's just a matter of habit and getting to know the software, because obviously there are some differences. But once you get a hang of it, you can become really efficient also for large batches of images. So I think it's a bit of a misconception that Capture One is built for single studio pictures and not like high volume like wedding.
Yeah, so we were discussing this before we started this call. We'll go into it more later. But yeah, there was a big misconception that I thought I couldn't do. I'm still doing one thing in Lightroom because I thought you couldn't do it in Capture One. But it turns out that's just like an urban legend. But we'll go into that. So the first thing is, and this comes off the back of a video that I made recently where I was comparing Capture One to Lightroom. Everybody said, you use different camera profiles. Why didn't you use the same camera profiles? And in the methodology I use, I selected Fuji camera profiles, both of them. I looked at them and it looked amazing in Capture One and not so good in the alternative software, even though I'd selected the exact same camera profiles. What I ended up doing to make it fair was to go to the native profile that the software wanted. So I assumed whatever they natively have is probably what they're best at and what everything else is based around.
Mm-hmm.
Camera profiles are, if I choose like 5 different bits of software and put the same camera profile into each one, is it the same thing?
Not entirely, actually, because each software will have also the raw conversion. So the engine is going to be different for each program. So it's not just the camera profile. Do you want to?
Yeah, when I first started working here, one of my tasks as a student worker was actually to shoot all the raw files with new cameras to make profiles, so we could tweak them and make them look as good as possible. And we've heard from many photographers that the colors out of the box in Capture One look more pleasing, and especially when it comes to skin tones and all of that. So we do try our very best with every single camera to make the most pleasing profile we can out of the box. So it's for many cameras, most cameras actually, it's a highly manual process to make these camera profiles.
Yeah, and we also talked before even talking to Scott about the color checker, that it's not just about the color checker and a 2D flat thing. Like we take pictures of a lot of 3D images, 3D things like people, like to get skin tones right, people with different skin tones and, I don't know, fruits or things, 3D objects to see that it's pleasing.
Yeah,
when you do that.
You have like a company definition of what pleasing is, what you're aiming towards, because I'd imagine if you get 10 people to say this is pleasing, it might be very different.
So I think one of the main ways to check if colors are pleasing is to shoot food. Because if you look at a at some fruit or something like a piece of meat, and it has a slight greenish tint, it instantly looks off-putting. And so it's very easy to spot colors that are slightly off when it comes to food. So yeah, it's of course it is subjective, but we have our color professor Niels Knudsen, who has been with the company for 35, 30 something years, and he has been in charge of this, developing the colors for cameras over time. So yeah, there's a lot about color accuracy in Capture One as in general.
And does this extend to things like so I use Fujifilm cameras now because they're cheap. They're the best bang for buck camera you can get for like a medium format without spending silly money. When I choose, say, a film simulation, so I can't think of a single Fuji Velvia within Capture One, is that Fuji's Fuji Velvia, or is that Capture One's Fuji Velvia?
It's actually closer to Fuji's because we have developed them with Fujifilm as well.
Yeah, I wanted to say it's a Fujifilm approved Capture One.
So it was a long process of sending profiles back and forth between Fujifilm and us and getting to a point where it was approved, basically. So it does go in and replace the profile that natively comes out of Capture One. So you use this Fujifilm profile instead, but it is highly collaborative with Fujifilm to get to this point.
It's not the exact same file within the camera, is it? So that Fujifilm within the camera, which is put to a JPEG, is yours a different?
It will be slightly different.
It will be slightly different, yes.
Yeah, different. And does every brand use your Fujifilm colors if it's a different editing company, or do they have their own Fujifilm colors? So say Adobe, for example, if you choose Fujifilm Velvia,
no,
yours treated with, or?
I don't know.
No, I would expect them to make their own profile because...
I was going to say for my testing, I'd assume as much, because when I assumed if I put two raw files, one into yours, one into Adobe, and chose Fuji Velvia, I'd get Fuji's Fuji Velvia applied to both raw files, and the color differences were insane.
Yeah.
But you also can have the raw conversion, which for Fuji is a bit more tricky also, so...
I'm just going to cough. I'll cut that out in a second. So I asked you like a really simple question. Now I'm going into like a million tangents. Me purely being nosy because I shoot Fuji cameras. So Fuji, as I understand it, is particularly difficult to... You've had to do a lot of work on the colours to get what you want out of it. And would I be right in saying if I went a few generations back on the software, the colours today would be better than they would have been several iterations ago? Is it one of those things that you continually improve as the raw conversion gets better throughout your software updates? Does my camera basically get a free upgrade if you upgrade your raw conversion? Because I'm getting more from it.
So there have been multiple steps in the improvement of supporting Fujifilm files, because Fujifilm, they use this X-trans sensor, which is different from a CMOS sensor. So the decoding needs to be different. And I recall at least two steps. One was to improve the details of it, so you simply get better image quality out of your X-trans files, basically. And the other one was, it becomes very technical, but running the X-trans files through a different pipeline to get the same performance as any other file. Because I'm actually not sure how it is today in other applications, but at least a few years back and before we made this improvement, Capture One and other applications would be slower with X-trans files than any other files, because it's a whole different decoding. So at one point we made the decoding into like the same pipeline as any other file, so you wouldn't feel a difference. But I remember, because I also have a Fuji camera and I've been shooting, and I remember back from before it was optimized how slow it actually was to work with X-trans files. So it's great to have it at the same performance.
I've definitely not noticed. I've only had Fuji for a while, and I've never felt that it was slow.
No, this is a while ago.
Yeah.
It must have always been on that better version. how much more, I'm sorry, I'm now going to loads of tangent questions, so I'm curious. How much more do you think you can get out of an X-Trans? Like, say I've got the GFX 100S something, I can't remember what it is. I've got 100 megapixel GFX. Over the next 10 years, will there be more work done on those raw files to make them better?
I would think so, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, it's a very good question because at some point you come to a quality where every improvement will be less and less visible depending on what you do. And it might become more and more expensive to make just a tiny little improvement. But image quality is always something that we have very high in everything we do. If it's supporting a new camera, if it's implementing new features like retouching, image quality is kind of the core of everything.
Yeah, one thing that I was thinking is not related uniquely to Fuji, but sometimes we do what we call engine upgrades, and it's like we change how we interpret some of the settings for the better. So those are also image quality improvements that those apply to everybody, not just to a specific camera.
So I do remember it's probably back in the 5D Mark II days of photography for Canon. I went from, this is when I changed from Lightroom to Capture One, and the raw file, as I saw it on the screen, was considerably better in Capture One. There was more detail, there was more dynamic range, and it was like upgrading the camera, just doing that. And that is just the benefit of the interpretation of the raw file, is that the engine you have in the background, which is just because not all raw files are the raw file starts the same, obviously, but what you open has a massive impact on what you can then do to it. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think it comes down to multiple things. So one is how we decode the raw file, and then the other one is this custom color profile that we apply to it. And then the third thing is the default adjustments that we also apply. So there's a default sharpening, which you can, by the way, change if you don't like the default that comes out of the box. But those three things will help to get the most pleasing result out of the box.
And is it a case that a new camera's released today, someone gets sent down to the shops, they go and pick up a camera, they bring it back to your place, and then just start taking pictures of everything, and then you have to...
Yeah, except that we do the best we can to have very good relationships with all the different manufacturers. So usually they are good at sending us the cameras beforehand, so we can have like day zero support for the important cameras.
Super. And so a few people are asking about why certain cameras weren't able to tether to Capture One. And somebody asked why their camera had been removed from tethering to Capture One. We talked about this beforehand.
Yeah.
There.
It's strange because I don't think we have ever removed support for a camera, so that part is strange. For which cameras we support, we do have a page where you can see if your camera is supported or not, and I think we just keep on adding. So
but we of course take every camera that we support and think about how widespread it would be, how popular it would be in studio scenarios, and we try to pick from the top of the cameras that, of course, are most important in the studio. And at some point there will be a cutoff, unfortunately. But we also do have a feature request page where you can go in and say, I would really like tethering support for this camera, because it might be that we have missed something or a camera is actually more popular than we thought. So so you can go in and you can also vote. And if a particular camera is missing support and get a lot of votes, it will be taken up for consideration.
It is also true that support comes in different stages. Like not all cameras can tether, that is true. But many cameras, you can still see the raw files and you can still edit them. You have color profiles. But for tether, of course, we prioritize the ones that are most used in tether scenarios.
And there might also be technical limitations of whether or not a camera can actually tether to the standard of what Capture One is, because it needs to be able to transfer the file at a certain speed to get the experience of tethering with Capture One.
And are some cameras more difficult than others to do that with?
Yes.
Because I know that I had a chat to I think it was your CEO actually. I can't remember how it came about, but I know with an email we ended up on a Zoom call randomly. And I was like, there's this weird bug. If I have live view open on this was ages ago, on my Fuji, and I fire the camera, I have to shut down Capture One afterwards because it freezes the whole thing. And he was like, let me CC these people and CC them in, send them a log file from something anyway. It doesn't do it anymore, so that's good. It's they're like, and it's one of those weird scenarios where you had to do a certain chain of events to cause this thing to happen.
Yes. And that's like all cameras can be different when it comes to also what they offer for live view and what resolution of live view they give us and all kinds of things. And we need to take all of that into account when we support tethering. So it's not just a check mark that we decide, oh, this should be and this shouldn't be. There's really a lot of work in making sure that you get the flow that you see. So just connecting a camera with a cable and then start shooting, and then the images will just flow into Capture One. It seems easy. It's like pressing the speeder of your car. It's relatively easy, but so much is going on under the hood.
Exactly, and I think there's a lot of people expect. There's a lot of people. A minority of people expect their very niche workflow to be fully catered for in every piece of software. Like we have some really niche bits of workflow that we do. And I'm sure, I mean, that thing that we had where we managed to like crash the tether, I'm sure 5 other people in the world might have experienced that same issue. But it's not a normal workflow where you have this live view zoomed in, the camera's not connected to a lens that it recognizes, which could also be part of the issue because it's on a technical camera. So it doesn't necessarily know it's being fired in the right way. And there's all these little weird tweaks. But as you know, I mean, that's the only other thing I've ever had go wrong. And I just, emailed the help desk, and within the next update, it stopped doing it. So now we don't have to keep going to the Digitech. By the way, when I'm doing this really weird, isolated thing, which nobody else in the world does, don't fire the camera. Oh, no, it was something nuts. Like if you fired the camera from the camera during live view while zoomed in, then it didn't like it. It was like a weird chain of events that you wouldn't normally have. I suppose, it's the same with, I used to work in medical tech, and we'd test something a million times, and then you'd find one person in a hospital somewhere who had a different workflow because their printer was on a different network. And you'd be like, oh, we've never come across this, that. So anyone who has those issues, they can just go to this support page, can't they, and go, this is the chain of events I did, and I didn't get the expected results.
Yeah, I think we will be very happy to know, because we want to make it, of course, as stable as possible, but we need to know as well. Sometimes we just don't know what steps are happening in order for this to happen. Yeah,
it's so hard to know everyone's workflow, because everyone assumes photography is a certain thing, but it's so vast. I've been to these museums where people are doing the big copy work of work.
The cultural heritage.
It's a huge thing, especially for companies like Phase One supply big cameras for it. Broncolor have this weird dome thing which play with one. There's always little quirks. So I think it's always a good thing to have that open relationship with the community. So I know you talk to a lot of the Digitechs as well, where and what do you do on set? If we change this, what's the repercussions on set? Does it you'll do your workflow? Which a lot of companies don't do. You get a lot of companies that do an update and then everyone goes, we can't work anymore. This is disastrous.
I mean, we of course know that so many photographers rely on Capture One in their workflow. So if we break something important, it's crucial that we fix it very fast. And best case scenario, we don't break it at all.
Yes.
But so if you stumble upon anything that breaks or any bug or something, the best you can do to help us is really to contact support with as much information as you can.
Let us know.
Because we look at that stuff daily in our team. And especially if something comes in from multiple people, then it starts going up in priority, because then it's just not an isolated incident. Then it's something that might be more widespread. And then it's, of course, something that needs our attention.
Again, go back to the test video, because this is something I didn't realize people didn't understand. And I'm also not the person who can explain it well to them. If I do +10 on clarity in Lightroom and then do +10 on clarity in Capture One, it's not the same thing. Could you explain? I don't even know what answer I'm going to get here, but could you explain me?
Should I?
Yeah, I think this one you should take.
Okay. It all comes down to the engine, basically, and how we decode. And exposure is fairly universal. It kind of has to be.
I was also going to say that also the algorithms. Our algorithms to apply something that different from...
Exactly. Yeah. And let's take contrast as an example, because contrast actually changed in Capture One about 10 years ago. In other applications, when you apply contrast, you usually also get a slightly more saturated image. And 10 years ago, we changed the algorithm for contrast to make it not do this in the same way. So I don't know if you know, but we have two different curves in Capture One, the RGB and the Luma curve, where the RGB is kind of like raw contrast in each channel, and the Luma is more taking care of the luminosity without affecting saturation. The contrast slider is then somewhat of a mix between these. And I remember seeing some comparison images when it comes to skin tones, because skin tones have always been a priority of ours to make the skin look great. And before this change, if you applied a lot of contrast, you could kind of break the nice tonality of your skin tone in the shadow areas. But after this change, it was much more natural, the way that the contrast was in the skin. So we do have unique algorithms for many of the sliders, clarity as well, contrast, even highlight, shadow, white, black. I've seen a lot of photographers say that the way that they recover highlights in Capture One looks different, and they prefer it in Capture One because it seems like the result is much more natural. But yeah, it is different, and it is a subjective thing, and this is also why it's really difficult to compare directly to, let's say, Lightroom or something else, because you cannot just do let's just copy these settings from here to there because it's the same raw file, the sliders have the same names. It will not look the same.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that I was trying to put across my video, but I obviously didn't understand how to explain this. Like, you can't just do +10 everywhere, and it means a completely different thing. And one of the things I find really useful is the way that when you pull the white slider down in Capture One is much more subtle in terms of the fall off than in others. I don't know the technical word for this, but as you're bringing down the blown out area on a lot of other softwares, it just goes grey. It's like you're blown out grey. Whereas this seems to have much more tonality and like nicer fall off when you do it with the white slider. So I often pull the whites back and then adjust the exposure. You end up with these weird ways that you go, I'm sure everyone edits completely differently. But if I've got really hot highlights, but I need to get a bit of shadow detail in, I'll pull the whites all the way down, then bring the entire global exposure up, and then fine tune it afterwards. It seems to work really well in terms of the fall off. There's always something in the images like absolutely blown out of my images because it's very specular light.
Yes.
Keep that harsh specularity, but then with a nice like curve coming off it is very easy in Capture One.
Yeah. When I was shooting these test images to support cameras, we were also shooting something to get these particular highlights where an area was completely blown out in order to get this support and make sure that the fall off of exactly the highlights was looking pleasing. So it is something that we also embed into the support of every single camera.
So I think that's really, really useful. It's one of those things that you don't realize until you try and do it in software that can't do it. And you go, that looks bad.
Yeah.
So in terms of the new AI skin retouching, which we had a look at last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think. I get confused when these videos come out. About 3 weeks ago. What are their AI sliders? What's the difference, first of all, between an AI slider in the back end and a general slider? And am I going to understand the answer?
Well, what's happening with these sliders actually is that when you start pulling it, the first thing that Capture One will do will try to find out, are there faces here? Where are the faces? Where should I apply the settings? So that's the first thing that is going to happen. That was actually quite difficult to do. Because, of course, it takes some time, but we wanted to keep it responsive. Otherwise, maybe you will have to press a button or something to calculate, and that's not so nice.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make it be seamless for people.
Yeah.
So when you do that, then we are calculating where to apply things, and then we apply some settings. And some of them are more AI-based, and others are more traditional, let's say.
And what exactly is it doing? Is it doing like a form of frequency separation? Is it doing cloning? Are you allowed to say? I don't even know. Maybe that's not seen.
We can. Some of them are based on frequency separation. So the even skin and the dark circles, those are based on frequency separation, but they are not just frequency separation. There is a bit more smartness, which I will let you explain the smartness.
Yeah. So just pure frequency separation was actually, I would say, the first alpha version that we started testing with photographers, because we need to test with photographers outside of Capture One regularly to get feedback and improve the features. And there were multiple rounds of that kind of feedback during the development. So we knew the first version wasn't good enough. We just needed input on which direction to take next. And the first feedback we got was that it looks too frequency separation-ish. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense because that's what we are using for this. But we needed to make it more natural and less frequency separation. So we added some ways so it can target more specifically what it needs. For example, the even skin, it will completely leave out any highlights of your skin and leave them as is, while trying to increase slight shadows so you get less micro contrast. But at the same time, we needed to retain the texture of the skin to not make it look like too soft and too artificial. So there was a lot of testing going on with a lot of different values in the algorithms for, okay, now we went a bit too much this way, now we need to go a bit back. And then we also got in touch with retouchers who were not just photographers, but professional retouchers, and got their feedback on, okay, this should do a little bit more like this, and so on. So we ended up tweaking, especially those two, even skin and dark circle reduction, a lot of times to get to the point where we are now. And then, of course, the AI that figures out where to apply this setting, because it would have been relatively easy to allow you to just do it, but in order to just like paint it on the image or something.
Yeah, to sort of mask it.
Yeah, but in order to make it work like during tethering or with copy apply, or just make it work for everyone by pulling a slider, that's where AI comes in. And that's where the second you pull a slider, it activates all of these AI models to help target these adjustments.
So obviously now it works with the face. How long will it be until we can apply that to, I suppose, anything really? Like, can I do my dog's face at some point? Obviously you want your dog to be quite different.
You would like to apply the frequency separation to your dog face.
Like, can I? Obviously, it detects the face at the moment. Could I, for example, make the same thing happen to a burger bun?
Short answer is no. Because the way it's trained and developed, it's very. Let's go to, for example, the blemish removal.
Yeah.
Because the blemish removal is a good example of an AI model that needs to understand what is a blemish and what is not. And currently that is still very difficult. So sometimes it removes something that might be a freckle or a birthmark or something. We're working on a solution for that, which will come. But it does it's best to differentiate between this. So the whole thing is trained to make it as easy as possible to remove blemishes from the face. So it's very targeted to that specific task, you can say. And then we have made it in a way so that it targets the most visible ones first. So like you would do as a retoucher or a photographer yourself, if the most visible blemish you would remove first if you were to do it completely manually. So there's this, in order to make it work really, really well, it needs to be very targeted to the specific task that it's doing. And that's why applying it to many different things, like backgrounds or removing the sesame seeds from a burger bun or whatever you want to do, that would require specific development for that task. And that goes back to the priority of what we see photographers needing. So we try to do our best to, again, have the biggest impact and make the most photographers happy in their workflow by selecting the different features we try to develop.
Yeah, and I think. Sorry. No, I was thinking that it's nice that you mentioned that the blemishes, that the first part of the slide that you will target the most visible blemishes, and then as you go farther, you will start, taking more and even affecting a bit the structure of the skin. And I was thinking just before of the conversation of sliders, like there are multiple sliders in Capture One that are actually, depending where you are, different things are happening.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So is the plan in the future to make more AI models for, like, you could have one for hands, for example, or you could have one for the backgrounds of like seamless background model, and you just do one model at a time in priority order as to what people would most want to use?
Yeah, we're definitely getting all the feedback of what people want the most. So we get a lot of requests for the neck, for the body. We also had for the background, as you say, to clean up the background. For each case, each case is their own. So for each of them, we have to look at the problem. What is the problem? How can we solve it? I wish there was a magic wand, and with one we could solve all of them, but there is not. It's actually difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll send you my my biggest problem in editing, and you can see if you can fix that for me next, because it's background replacement and retouching costs me a fortune each year. It's yes, and we can prioritize my issues, and then we get those.
You're welcome to send it.
So that's all very good. That's all very interesting. I love the skin retouching thing, because a lot of my portraits, there's not much skin on show, and it saves me probably an hour and a half of retouching, I think.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it takes, 20 seconds?
Yeah.
I take the editing approach of move every slider to the maximum and then move it back down again until it looks normal.
Yeah.
I do the same with my lighting. I put every light on full power, then turn them down to the right. I'm like, we'll start on 10 and we'll work our way back and see when it looks good. Okay, so the last thing I want to cover here is something which I have always accepted as gospel, but haven't actually ever questioned. And it's always one of the comments I get when I compare the two bits of software. And I've already discussed this slightly with you, so I kind of know how stupid I was. But I have a Lightroom catalog which stores about 2,000 of my best images as TIFF files. They're good to go, they're edited, they're just TIFF, so I can export them into whatever format I need for treatments, for portfolios. I keep it all there. If I need to do an Instagram post, I go there, I export the file, onto Instagram it goes. I've always done that because I was told Capture One is rubbish for organizing photos. Now, I asked you this earlier, and you mentioned that, yes, that is the case if you have several 100,000 photos in one place, which I don't believe many people do. I assumed it was rubbish if you had more than one day shooting there. Could you explain to me how I get my massive, I call it a massive catalogue of 2,000 images, because to me that's loads. We shoot like 3 shots a day, so that's years of work. What do I do with that if I want to have the same thing where I can see it all at once, it's all in one place, I can export it with my different recipes? What do I do?
So if you already have your images organized somewhere physically on your hard drive, you simply create a new catalog and add the images to your catalog without copying or moving them. Then they show up, they're indexed, you can see them all, you can export them, you can search, you can filter, star rate, all of that. And really 2,000 images, that's like half a day of shooting if you are an e-commerce photographer, and they use Capture One. So 2,000 is nothing. I have my own personal catalog of like family pictures. I think I have 70,000 in one catalog. It still runs fine. I mean, granted, it's not as fast in some actions as other applications, but there are no real issues beyond that.
But even, Lightroom, when we used to have, I used to do a catalog per drive. I'd have one master, I'd have all the different catalogs for each shoot, and then a master catalog for the drive. That would have 20 terabytes, and that was slow. The images would never load, and you're scrolling down, just grey images. You have to wait for them to open and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not, So I can just get rid of Lightroom altogether, can't I? And just
the catalogs have roughly the same functionality available.
Yes.
It's just, and I say just because I know to some people it's not just, but it's a matter of performance when doing certain actions. Because when you just have your catalog open and you are working with it, clicking between collections, it works fine.
What sort of thing would it not be best for? When would it be like, maybe not for that instance?
Well, for 2,000 images, I don't think you will have any problem whatsoever.
No.
Let's be clear.
How many images are we talking before we have a problem?
But the problem is really just opening, for example, a catalog with 200,000 images will take longer than it does to open it in, let's say, Lightroom. But once it's open, it's right there.
How much longer are we talking here? Because I've got an IT guy who comes in every week and complains that one of my computers is too slow compared to his. And I've seen him on his computer. We're talking a second difference to do some actions. He's like, it's so slow. And he's like banging the...
No, I think it will be noticeable, but I don't have a number, but it will be noticeable.
No, my own 70,000 image catalog on my Windows computer, I think takes, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds to load completely.
Oh, so you couldn't make a cup of coffee while you're waiting then? It's not...
No, I couldn't even. It's just you can see the number of images load in, and they don't just open instantly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. That's not going to stop me from doing that. Okay, but that's all very good then. And then the last question, we'll end on an awkward one, which everyone talks about on the internet. Why or when will you support Hasselblad cameras, and why don't you? Because everyone wants to know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we use that expression for the thumbnail. That would be the
yeah. So I think what you have to realize is that when we support a new camera, like for example, let's say that there's a new Canon camera, there is some work involved, but at least we already have a lot of the infrastructure. We work with them for a long time. We have something to be based on, and then we have to add a new camera. But when it is like a new manufacturer, like Hasselblad, this is a lot of work. We may have to optimize for the RAW conversion, just like we talked with Fuji, so that the RAW files look good. We need to do color profiles, we need to do lenses, and then if you want to do tethering, we do our own solution. So you will have to take the camera, see how it communicates, and do everything from scratch. So whenever we have added like new manufacturers, like I think we added Fuji a few years ago, and then we added Leica and Panasonic. With those, we had a very close collaboration with the manufacturer. Because otherwise, I think it's impossible. It's almost impossible for us to do it. So we don't have that relationship with Hasselblad, basically. So
is it a relationship that may happen in the future, or is it just a...
I don't think we're close to having that relationship at all, but it's not something that is planned right now. It's not something that we are actively talking with them or anything like that.
But we can also not say straight up no, because we don't know.
Yeah.
See, this would be a great idea if I'd got Hasselblad on a call next to us and we just joined all together.
Totally.
Like the parent trap, isn't that?
So that would have been good. I should have thought that through. Because I know that one of the big reasons I don't know if it's the same across the world. I know that every country has their own like trends in camera usage and like Digitex, but all the Digitex in the UK use Capture One right now. Is that what you see? Do you get to see how much cameras are being used from your software, or is it just me?
Yes, we do know the statistics of what cameras are used.
Yes.
I do not know how much we can say about it, but
of course
it fits with what you're saying.
Yeah. we can see the most used cameras, and we can also see which ones are almost never used, and that also helps us prioritize. So, for example, if there is a problem with the R5, and we know that it's a very popular camera, it goes straight to the top of the priority because we know how widespread it's used. So those kind of metrics and analytics on camera usage helps us prioritize. The really important problems if they were to arise.
Yes, I'd assume, the more popular the camera is, logically speaking, the more time you're spending on it, therefore, the more you get out of it almost. I always say to people with the software that we use, if you've got a camera that you've been using for a while and you move from like the Adobe RAW conversion to the Capture One RAW conversion, it's kind of like moving up one generation in camera in terms of an upgrade. When I had the 5DS system and we went from Lightroom to Capture One, the files were so much better in Capture One. But it was like getting the next model up almost. It's that sort of thing. It's the same with video stuff. We use various video editing software, and we recently moved from Adobe to DaVinci. And my cameras are suddenly, it's like getting a new camera. You get this new, because whatever it is, we use a camera that was made much like Phase One. It was made by the same brains and people and software. And it's like, well, this is the perfect marriage for these bits here. Do you ever have situations where the lenses require, obviously there's a lot of sensor work and all the rest, but you have your lens profiles. Are there some lenses which just require insane amounts of work to get them to do whatever lenses need doing?
Yes. Really good lens profiles, when we build them manually, they also take a lot of time to do, because we need to take a lot of images to find like the parallax, and I don't know if I'm using the right terms, but there's a lot of stuff to do. But we are trying to establish better relationships with the manufacturers to get them to embed their own profiles into the lenses, because when they do that, we can use the manufacturer profile, which comes directly from the manufacturer. And this is actually a common misconception, that if it says manufacturer profile, a lot of users and photographers, they think that, oh, there's no lens profile for this lens. But manufacturer profile means we actually got the profile straight from the manufacturer, which is a good thing.
Which is from your camera. It's not a generic one that we have done with the lens where we have available. It's something that is, your camera, your manufacturer put that information for your specific lens.
Yes. So we try to, in order to support a higher volume of lenses, we try to talk to all the manufacturers about embedding these lens profiles directly into the lenses, so we can get them.
They make a big difference, don't they? When you apply, well, whenever I click on one, most of my lenses are so old it doesn't apply to me. Mine are from like the 19th. But whenever we use modern cameras, even a top prime, you click that lens profile, and all of a sudden you see any vignetting is gone.
Yes.
Any warping of the image, which you didn't even know was there until you press the button.
Yeah.
You're looking to go, great, then you press the button, you go, oh, a lot better.
Yeah, and exactly. And when it comes to lenses, the light fall off and sometimes also the sharpness fall off, obviously, is different from all throughout the aperture values. So that's also a big part of building the lens profile, because the light fall off is heavily depending on which aperture you're using when you shoot.
So does that profile understand that, I shot this at 2.8?
Yes.
And then, that's it. I didn't know that. There we go.
Also why it takes time to build it.
Yeah, exactly. It takes time because it needs to shoot the entire aperture like sweep and everything. And it's actually the same with camera support and profiles when it comes to noise reduction. Because noise reduction per default is just set to 50, 50, 50, 50, straight in the middle. And some people have been asking us like, oh, but if I shoot at ISO 800, what should the values then be? And the reality is that the noise reduction that is applied is also depending on the ISO that you shot your image with. So noise reduction at 50 on ISO 200 is not the same as noise reduction 50 on ISO 1600, because it's already different. It's taking the different ISO into account. So personally, I have never bothered to tweak much with noise reduction, because none of my wedding clients have ever come back to me and said, why is that so noisy? It's just, they like it sharp. They don't care about noise. It might even add to...
I've never adjusted any noise reduction.
No,
a lot of in the YouTube comments, I used to shoot a 5D Mark II at 3200 ISO, and I'd never applied noise reduction.
No, but it's
late at night. There's going to be some noise, and that's part of the too clinic. I don't like. I mean, often I'll add lots of grain on top of it, and make it a feature of it. But
yes.
I was thinking that you like grain, so
I also like film grain. I think it's a good feature. It adds some goodness to the images. But yeah, it's like with lens profiles, with noise reduction, many things in Capture One is depending on what EXIF settings basically you have on your camera when you shoot. So we read that.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. So yeah, it knows the settings.
Yes.
Make adjustments based on those, and they change as the settings change. Oh, that's very interesting. That's good to know, actually, because I wouldn't have assumed that. I think that's all my questions. I've added loads of extra ones in there as we went along, just to keep you on your toes. Is there anything you feel I've missed, or anything you'd like to add? Or let's hear your favourite tools that people might not know about or might be using wrong, or whatever it may be. Yeah, let's do that.
You go first.
My favorite tool is the style brushes. You can see it after the layers. This is the first tool. It's Collapse. I think many people miss it, but I love it because it's just like it's just like for dummies. Like if I want to add detail in an area, I just click, and then immediately the brush is selected with the right settings, with the right flow, and then I just brush in, and yeah, it's super.
Yeah, we use that a lot. The layers and the style brush is good. It's
Yeah. And if you click like, I don't know, for the iris or whatever, then even the size will be very tiny. It's I love it.
Yeah, and you can make your own.
Yeah, you can make your own. I never made my own though. I like the ones you made.
you can make your own brushes.
Yes.
And save them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what you do is you
did not know this. I do it from scratch every time.
So what you can do is you create an adjustment layer, put some adjustments on it, then you tweak your brush to the settings you want. Then you right click on your layer and say save as style brush. And then the settings of your brush with the settings on your adjustment layer will be saved into a new style brush.
I think you have an option to save the brush settings or not. I cannot.
Yeah, you can
choose
if you want them embedded or not in your style.
So even if you want different hardness or flow, or you can save that, and then whenever you click and you start brushing, that's it. It's done.
Oh, right. There we go. That's saved me a lot of time already. Brilliant. I hope yours is as good. What's yours?
So my favorite feature is speed edit. I don't know if you know about that.
Nope.
Ooh. Okay, this is going to be good. So I play piano, and at one point we had the idea of allowing photographers to edit faster without having to find all the sliders. So what speed edit does is if you hold down a key on your keyboard, a speed edit key, it will temporarily activate one of the sliders, and then you can change the slider in 3 different ways. You can either click or drag anywhere in the interface. It doesn't need to, it can be in the middle of your picture. And then if you drag it left and right, as long as you hold down the speed edit key, it will change, for example, exposure or contrast, depending on what key you hold down. You can also scroll up and down on your mouse wheel or on your trackpad, or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So what you can basically do is you can hide the entire interface if you remember all the speed edit keys, and then you can edit your whole image like this with the most common sliders available, basically. So what I do when I do my weddings is that I apply a style, maybe even a smart style, to all the images, and then most of them are like 70 to 90% there. And then I use speed edit to tweak, like, is it too bright? Is it, do I need to increase the Kelvin? Change the tint a little bit, decrease the contrast, whatever. I just do it extremely fast without having to touch the interface. And it's kind of a hidden feature because you don't really see it. It's not advertised anywhere. If you go into the keyboard shortcuts, you can see somewhere it says speed edit keys, but that's it.
Yeah, you can also configure it, but it's actually very easy to remember which, like it seems like, oh my God, how am I going to remember? But it's not, because like the QWER, which is at the top of most keyboards, that is like exposure, brightness, contrast, saturation. So that's the exposure tool. Then the next 4 is the HDR tool. Then you have clarity, I know them. And then the 1 and 2 are for the white balance. So it's actually pretty easy.
It's for Kelvin and tint.
Yeah. Speaking of keys, is there a reason why Command and K is the keys you press to fire the camera? I've always wondered why it's Command K.
It's because we didn't know how to spell capture correctly. No, it's Command C is obviously for copy, so we couldn't use that.
So Command. I was like, why is it a K? There must be a reason for it, but yeah, that makes sense.
But if you don't like it, you can change it.
Yeah, you can customize it.
Yes, I've changed it a few times, but it angers everyone else who comes in, so we have to revert back to Command K. Otherwise, people are like, why won't it fire? I'm like, I changed it to be letter P. Like, why? I was like, for pressing the button. They're like, no. Put it back to Command K. I was like, okay, Command K. That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Look forward to chatting again soon.
So again, thanks so much for Capture One for joining in with this and for agreeing to my ridiculous terms of 30% discounts for people. You can get your 30% discount down below if you want.
It's a lot of discount.
It's a lot of discount.
Capture One.
And for letting me grill their tech team and ask them all those questions that everyone wants to know, but you can't find out. You'd assume there's some weird conspiracy theories going on, but you just have to ask. It turns out. It's the same with Broncolor and people like that. You just ask them. They're like, yeah, this.
Yeah, because again, these are people that actually get it.
Yeah.
Like not some faceless corporation like Adobe or, or certain other brands.
No, quite. Absolutely. So what we're going to talk about now is our daily carries. Because I did this is purely because I'm obsessed with daily carry videos. Rob, what do you take with you every single day no matter what you're doing? Cameras, equipment, phones,
All right,
laptops. What's in your car bag or whatever it is?
Well, I mean, obviously, I bought the Avant, so I had more room to put stuff in it and just leave it there.
Yeah.
So I have one bag of lighting stands.
Yep.
I have 3 LED RGB panel lights.
Yeah.
I have my Laufas softbox.
Yeah.
I always, if you could only ever bring one thing, it's the Pocket 4K on the gimbal rig, because that can do almost everything you could ever conceivably want, and a 6D.
You always have a 6D in there, do you?
Yeah.
How often does that 6D come out?
Not very often. Not these days so much.
How often does the DJI come out?
Or the drone? Or
No, the gimbally action cam.
Oh, well, the action cam is my permanent resident, is my dash cam now.
How often do you take it off that and do actual non-stuff with it?
Not very often. A few times here and there, but it's a rare thing because it spends its life literally as my dash cam.
Yeah.
I mean, you saying like, Rob, that's the most over-spec dash cam I've ever seen in my life.
Although, I don't know if people know this about dash cams, there's 2 dash cams in the world in terms of sensor. Neither of them can really read a registration plate.
Yeah.
So if you ever need the registration plate or something, you have to say it out loud. Because if you ever watch that footage back, they're useless.
But the Action 5 is brilliant in that regard.
Yeah, you can absolutely see it. So one of the reasons I brought this up is because somebody messaged me. They're like, what are you using for your daily camera? Because they wanted to get something new. They wanted to know what I was using. And I was like, for years, I carried my Bronica HRSI in a bag in the boot of my car. That slowly stopped getting used. And then I got a dog. And the dog went in the boot of the car, so the camera came out. The camera now lives in like one of those camera fridges. It's not a fridge. What do you call them? The pressure chambers. I don't know. And there's like weird little fridges that keeps everything dry and
like a dehumidifier. Yeah.
It lives in one of those now. It doesn't get touched at all. I also have a DJI, which is in my possession all the time. It's actually on charge at the moment, which is why it's not in my bag. And that is the Osmo Pocket.
Yes.
I have used it 0 times for anything but work. If I'm shooting a vlog, I'll use it, but I've never gone, ooh, isn't that nice? Let's get some footage. Well, I'm going to edit the footage later. I don't think so.
No, I mean, I can relate.
Yeah.
I remember when I was, because I bought my car from Scunthorpe, as you know, and while I was having some work done to it, I went to a really nice pub down the road called the Hope and Anchor. If they're listening, awesome place, like amazing food, my God. And I was like, well, waiting for what was then my partner, now ex-partner. And I'm like, well, I'll just get the drone out and do some stuff while I'm waiting. Because it sits on the River Humber.
Yeah, it's
beautiful spot. And it's like, again, but because I happen to already have had it in the car. Yeah. You're like, I'll just get the drone out. And
I just don't think I'd even bother. It's weird. So I was going, I'll take my Canon. I've got a Canon F1. It's a brass-built camera, purely mechanical. I'll take it on dog walks. Thing is, my dog's only 1, so dog walks are actually quite intensive training. There's no time for sitting there taking in the landscape.
I mean, he's enthusiastic.
He's enthusiastic. But I do have my bag with me, and this is also kind of the conversation.
So you've had that as long as I've known you, that Billingham?
I got this Billingham in 2010. And it's funny, Holly was like, that bag's ridiculous, you need to get rid of it. No. I was like, I can't get rid of it. I've had it for 15 years. It's gone everywhere around the world with me. And it's got a few holes in the bottom appearing, which is not ideal. But I've used this every day for 15 years. Yeah. And I'm quite into, I have a bag for everything. It's little things like even like my center console of my car is purely tools. My glove box is purely sun cream, food, or like snacks and stuff like that for the kids.
See, my glove box is full of receipts.
Yeah, so I have a top one for receipts, for fuel receipts and stuff. So everything has a place. I have set toolkits for set cars, set toolkits for set locations. Everything is set in a certain way, and my bag is no different. And I do have everything like, so we have the emergency wild boar pate for Teddy in here, which is important. Obviously, my MacBook's normally in there, as is my DJI gimbal, the Osmo Pocket 3. Then I use these like waterproof pouches for everything. So this one here is my go-to waterproof pouch. So if I just need to take my stationery, this has got my pencil case, my headphones, a power bank, and a notepad in it, just ready to go. So I can take it out if I just need that. It's we've got it all very carefully, and I've got my camera in here as well, which we'll get out in a second. I've then got a notepad. This is a semicolon and a Kaveco green mini fountain pen because these are nice. My girlfriend ribbed me for having this, and then guess what she went and bought herself? What a twat. A slim wallet, which is normally in my pocket, but it's in there because I'm sitting down. I don't like the feeling of a wallet in my pocket. My ducky pouch, which is a gift from one of the kids, which contains all the antihistamines, plasters, child medication I might need, adult medication I might need, and my aftershave, which is
your cologne.
Ricky Hall, Captain Fawcett's Booze and Backy, which is man musk. Smells like an alcoholic and a box of cigars. It's beautiful.
Ron Burgundy said, it smells like a diaper filled with Indian food.
It smells like Bigfoot's dick. I've watched that with the kids recently. Another power bank because phones.
You're going to have too much electricity in your pocket. So.
A pair of shocks for when I'm walking the dog and I need to be able to hear what's going on, but I'm bored of my own thoughts. A pair of in-ear monitors, which I'm currently enjoying listening to.
They're quite a recent purchase as well.
They're very recent. Got those a week ago. A dog whistle, which is useful because we have dog whistles everywhere just in case we ever forget one. I've got keys for various places in that pouch. And in this pouch, we've got card readers and data. So SD cards, SSD drives, all of that sort of stuff. And then my camera that I use the most, iPhone 11 Pro. This gets used so much, it's insane. So when I see something pretty, even though I have lots and lots and lots of camera gear available at the studio, and even I have my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is better than this. This is what I use. If I'm going to take a photo, 9 times out of 10, it'll be on here. So if I'm out on a dog walk and I go, well, that looks particularly beautiful today, it will be on my iPhone 11.
Yeah, but I think we can all relate to it. And one of our favourite photographers, Chase Jarvis, wrote the whole book. He said, the best camera is the one you have with you.
It is, but here's the interesting thing. When I have both of them with me, why am I not using the better one?
Because that's easy and fast.
It's fast, it's easy, it's convenient. I can share stuff quicker. If I need to get a picture of kid and the dog, this is already in my pocket, isn't it? The Osmo Pocket is not as convenient as it is. It's as convenient as racking out a 6K camera for me.
Yeah, because there's still a workflow attached to delivering the
I've still got to offload the footage and remember not to format the card. But if I want to get a nice picture of the kids and the dog, or a nice bit of whenever we're out on walks, I take nice pictures of the countryside. That's the park behind our house. It's all beautiful and nice. And we go to the park. It's a nice day. I take a picture. Don't really do anything with that picture. I don't necessarily share it on social media, but I've got it. I don't know. Yeah. This just seems to be the answer. So it's weird. I every now and again, I get the urge to buy a new daily camera. I'll go and buy an X100 of some description, one of the mid-range. I never buy the latest one because I know I'm not. I know deep down inside it's going to be back on eBay within 6 months. And even this morning, I woke up and I was like, wouldn't it be nice just to have a pocketable camera that I can keep to one side and just be like, yeah, that's me. That's my camera. That's my daily driver. That's what I take my shots on. But I wouldn't use it.
No, I think, especially in the modern era, phones are so good now. I mean, our older Pixel.
Yeah.
It's shockingly good, actually.
I don't even have anywhere near the latest iPhone. I buy whatever iPhone I can get for 300 quid, knowing that if I drop it and smash it, I'm just going to buy another one without it hurting.
It's they're like 1,500 quid now.
It's ridiculous.
And when Trump tax gets involved, it's going to be nearly 2 Gs.
I also carry a Swiss Army knife.
Because you can, because it doesn't have a locking blade.
I do
we both know it's inferior to the Leatherman.
I do have a Leatherman, but it's always in a location where I can legally carry it, not in my pocket. So a Leatherman does travel around with me, but in the appropriate casing.
Because it's
UK.
So I mean, my Leatherman's the titanium one.
Yeah. Which
is great, but not legal in the UK anymore.
No. Well, no, it is legal.
But not on you.
No, you can't. It's a weird law. So you can have it with you if there's a reason for having it with you, but they don't specify what is a valid reason. So we use them on set.
Yeah.
So can I take it on the train to the studio?
in a suitcase, yes. In your pocket, no.
Exactly. So yeah, you want to check those rules before you do anything. And I'm really funny about these things. I don't want to get arrested for something stupid. So I have a printout of the rules in the location where it's stored, just to go, here's the rules, here's where it's stored, here's what it says. Because as good as a Swiss Army, they're rubbish. It's just not a Leatherman, is it?
It's just not.
This is mostly used for opening my bottle of beer at the end of a shoot.
Yeah, I mean, beverage wrench, is
and
great. But,
opening boxes. The screwdriver is completely useless. But a good pro tip is put a bit of string on it because it makes it so much easier to get it out of your pocket.
It's always like that hack. Oh, I'm just going to unbox this with the world's biggest Bowie knife.
Yeah.
Looking like Rambo, it's just like, mate.
The thing is, if you're having to open loads of boxes, like this knife's wrecked from opening packaging because sellotape ruins blades. Like, absolutely ruins them. So, yeah, that's what we carry around with us. I have carefully curated my daily carry over the years because I'm all about efficiency. I like everything to be as nice as possible. I like to have nice things. So this pen here is the nicest pen you can get without spending real money. It's kind of the Casio watch of the pen world of Cavico. These are like under 100 quid.
Yeah.
And it makes, what's the equivalent, like a Parker or something, look like a beginner's pen.
Well, I think Parkers are beginner's pens.
Yeah, well, yeah. You can get a £100 Parker or £100.
I do have. Check me out being bougie. A Mont Blanc.
I bought my mate a Mont Blanc for his wedding.
No, in fairness, I'm left-handed. I can't write for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
The reason I'm called the company digital mechanic is analog. I cannot write.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to a Catholic school and they tried to make me write my right hand and all sorts of stuff.
Good old days.
Yeah. But again, funnily enough, in China, one of the factory bosses was like, "Oh, it's your birthday. Here is a really expensive pen," and I was like, oh, "Thank you, but."
Yeah,
no,
we never use
I've got
it.
I've never. I don't think actually I've even looked at it since I brought it back to the UK. But again, beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Tony, for listening. But it's just one of those things that just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, see, my mate was having a chat with me, like, so you bought me a fancy pen, but you don't have one yourself. And I was like, yeah, but I wouldn't enjoy it. I'd just feel guilty every time I used it because I can't spend that sort of money on myself. So, but yeah, I think nice daily tools, and it's the same with all tools, isn't it? It's like if you buy good quality stuff.
Oh, but you saw the size of my Snap-on tool chest.
Yes. Yeah.
It'd be goddamn ridiculous. I mean, it's 20 grand just for the tool chest.
Yeah.
Without a tool in it.
Yeah.
And people were like, but that's the.
But you buy once.
It was a beautiful thing.
Buy once, and that's.
It's the same toolbox that the McLaren Formula One pit crew used.
Yeah.
So it's about as good as it gets.
That toolbox will last generations.
I mean, it'll outlive me easily.
Yeah. It's the same like in the studio, like certain kit in here will last generations. Other kit will not.
Yeah.
So these boom arms here will not last generations because of this particular design just here. The little ball joint of this bit here, that's going to fail. I can tell you right now it's going to fail. It will. But other stuff, I mean, that Manfrotto 058B tripod.
Oh, that'll outlive a cockroach.
That's been trucking. That's a daily used tripod. Funnily enough, the Manfrotto salon stand, that will last forever. That is fully serviceable, fully repairable. Yeah. The C stands I've got from Newer, they were not. They're already starting to fall apart. I've had them for 10 years. I had good use out of them.
Yeah, they have been used as well.
They're in and out of the back of trucks for a lot of that life as well. So, moving on from daily kit and having nice... the other thing I'd say is I've always wanted to have nice things. And I could never afford nice things when I was younger. So, I was always very always wanted to have a Swiss Army knife, but I couldn't afford a Swiss Army knife because that much money for something which I didn't really need was just frivolous. And it's quite nice. I used to do this thing where every time I got a big job, I'd buy myself one nice thing.
A little treat.
And it would be either like, I remember one big job I got, I bought myself a pair of shoes, which were like £200. And at the time, that was a lot of money for a pair of shoes for me. I'd be buying like £30 to £40 shoes, and I bought a pair for £200. I was like, I've still got them today. I get them resold every few years. And I used to always do that. I wouldn't spend like £1,000 on something, but £100 on something which you don't like. £100 on a pen is a ridiculous purchase. You can get a pen for 50p.
Yeah.
But I'd buy myself a nice pen, and that's the pen which marks that job. They're the shoes that mark that job. And there's always that little thing. I never spend big, but I'd always buy something which was expensive for what it is, but not something that is expensive.
Yeah.
I think that's always been
I remember my first like actual. I hate the phrase. I'm going to use it because that's what we call luxury watch.
Yeah.
Well, when I went to Vegas for the first time in 2005 and saved up like a grand basically to piss up the wall, I thought, well, Vegas, baby. But because the rate was so good, it was like £2 to the dollar, or $2 to the pound, sorry.
Yeah.
And I still had, because I'm quite analytical, I was like, hang on, beer's really expensive in these casinos. However, if you're playing a game, you get free beer. I'm like, right, there's a hack here.
Yeah.
If I bleed out less money than it would cost me just drinking at the bar, I'm going to sit and play the games.
Yeah.
And up, down, and by the end of the week, I amassed enough, and I was like, do you know what? Went to Roman Times at the Caesars one and bought my first Tag Heuer. I was like,
Yeah, I do miss the nights out in China. When I was with my mate last week, he lived with me in China. I didn't live with me, but like we both lived in China at the same time. And so I got to employ somebody. So I gave my mate George a buzz. I was like, George, mate, get on a flight. It's on. And it was. And it was, we're reminiscing about the good old days in Shanghai and Hong Kong. But not to be the case anymore. Back in the UK, all living sensible lives, all with kids and partners and all that good stuff, being grown-ups.
Me, not so much.
Terrifying. Yeah, reasonable grown-up life.
Just without the kids and the partner bit.
You go to work. That's more than we used to do.
I guess to work, yeah.
You go to work. You don't die on a regular basis.
I mean, only because I'm immortal. I mean, that's why I keep my broadsword skills sharp.
Yeah.
It's like, my apocalypse weapon of choice is a katana. Do you know why? It doesn't run out of bullets.
Yeah. That's what you need. That's
a hot tip right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what no one tells you about making it in photography and when your career takes off. Now, my career has taken off many times because, and this is what people don't realise, you land your first massive job. I remember vividly the first time it was like a 10-day shoot and it was worldwide usage. So big global campaign, worldwide usage, in perpetuity. The payout was insane. I was on $3,500 a day. That alone was more than my previous annual year's salary just for the day rate. Then I was getting all this extra money for various different bits of it. The retouching budget was in the tens of thousands, and then the usage was insane. I only finished spending it a couple of years ago. That's how much it was. I was still living off it a couple of years ago. And I was like, this is it. This is it. From this point onwards, I'm never going to do a small job again. Fast forward 6 months of having had no work whatsoever, and I was doing a job for $1,000. And people don't realise that it's not that you get one big job and that's it, you're sorted. And it's all off and it's all going on. You have to, I don't even look at the jobs on a job-by-job basis. I look at it on an annual rotation. Like, how much did we make in this year of shooting? Not how much did I make on that job? Because some jobs are silly money, some jobs are rubbish money.
You could do nothing for 11 months and that one job in December could make your year for you.
What was it, 2 years ago, wasn't it? Where it was getting towards November time and I was massively down on the year, massively down. And then we just had 2 huge campaigns. And it was my best financial year ever.
Yeah.
Just because of 2 jobs at the end of the year. And there were points in that year I was like, I'm going to start looking at other income streams because this is not the one anymore. And then, best year ever. There is no, I've made it, it will always be fine. I know people who have been doing great for years and years and years, and then one year they don't do a single job and they can't work out why. It's like, it just dies. I know other people who I'm quite steady in my income. It's like, we do 4 jobs a year, big ones, 3, 4. I don't bother with the small ones anymore because it's too much of a headache. And I have other income streams, which means I don't have to do them. But if I didn't have other income streams, I would do the smaller jobs, the ones like $2,500 a day here and there.
Yeah.
I'd still do those. But it's just, generally speaking, the clients who book those jobs are nightmares. And we don't want to deal with those. It's better to come in and do a day of YouTube. It's much easier. In all honesty, if someone's got a nightmare job on a low budget,
additional income stream just from the YouTubes.
Yeah, I mean, just coming in to do, I'd make more than a day shooting just doing a day's YouTube videos. And that's without all the digital downloads we sell, like the big marketing workshop and business workshop we do for commercial photographers, or the Studio Access, which is like the monthly platform where there's just content going up all the time. They're separate to that. This is just YouTube ad revenue. I'd be better off some months just making videos because we only do like a day's videoing a month. If I did 2 days videoing a month, you literally double your income.
Yeah.
Because it's a view basis. So I can make $1,000 a month just doing 1 day. If I do an extra day, I get $2,000. If I do a third day, I get $3,000. And it doesn't drop off. If I do a video a day, they all get the same amount of views as if I did just the one a week. So if I get 10 grand doing one a week, if I do 5 a week, I get 50,000. 10,000, 50,000 views. And obviously the pay goes up with that. So it's, I mean, that's not the method I use, just to be clear. Don't use that as a business method because it's not a sustainable one, because there's a limit of ideas. But there's other things you can do.
Well, as you well know, the current trend is people quitting YouTube. Yeah. Because the thing they thought was fun now isn't. Yeah, it's just a daily grind.
That's why we do it once a month.
Yeah.
It's not fun if you do it every day. I don't know how these channels, like what they're called, Tony and Chelsea, who have like daily videos. Ugh. That must be a grind. I mean, I'm sure they make.
Too preachy for me, but.
Yeah, I'm sure they make good money doing it, but that's hard work. That's not an easy job.
No.
It's not an easy job. Same with Jared Polin. He does like daily videos pretty much.
Yeah.
That's a brutal amount of production. It's not easy. So yeah, I think the once a month is good for me. And then sometimes I'll come in and feel inspired to make a one-off video, which tanks.
Yeah. Then I'm saying I love like Philip Bloom, you know what?
Yeah.
But he'll make a video every 3 months.
Yeah, but it's not a business for him, is it?
No, but that's why I enjoy it, because it's not just pumping out content for the sake of content.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful with that, because if you don't do it often enough, it's not financially sustainable. If you do it too often, it becomes financially rewarding, but it's not physically sustainable. I find the 1 day filming per month is the holy grail for me.
Sweet spot, yeah.
Sweet spot. And then if I do more than that, it's not worth it. If I'm absolutely dead and there's no work going on, I would probably do, say there's 1 month where there's nothing happening. Nothing. I can't even imagine what sort of month that would be where none of the other businesses are busy. But say there was, I would come and do a video a day. But instead of filming them in batch on several days, I'd probably just film them once a day. I'd film, edit, upload each day, because I think I'd be able to sustain that better than doing 5 days worth of filming back to back.
And half the challenge is coming up with a concept of what the video is.
Yeah, it's very difficult coming up with good ideas. Actually, the hardest part is the title and the thumbnail, especially when it's new information, because you've got to come up with a title and a thumbnail that makes people click on it so they can learn the new information, because they're not going to search for what they don't know exists. That's fun. And getting the right title for the video as well. You've got to try and get an entire video into 5 words. And make sure, and the way that YouTube works is, if they click on it and click off before 30 seconds in, it reduces the reach of your video. So clickbait's useless because it tanks your video. What you need is something highly clickable and then a payoff on the other side of it. But you're trying to guess what people who don't know what you know will find as a highly clickable title to a highly payable content. It's so hit and miss. Like, sometimes you do a great video and you mess up the title and everyone's like, that's not what I thought it was going to be, and they all click off. Other times you do an average video but nail the title and it just takes off, and it's like, great, that's a really rubbish video but everyone's watching it because I nailed the title and thumbnail. This brilliant content over here which I messed up the title and thumbnail is just tanking. So that's good. That's fun. That's the worst bit about YouTube, titles and thumbnails.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not related to the effort you put in either.
No, sometimes I just literally come up with the title. I'm like, that's an absolute banger. Other times I'll spend the whole day just changing the title because I can't work out what it is people need to read to then say, yeah, that's what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. It's like season 3 of the podcast, like episode 3 blew up.
Episode 3 went nuts.
And it's like, but it's basically still the same quality of content that episode 1 and 2 were.
Yeah, they just tanked.
Yeah. It's just
every podcast episode in terms of content, I think we've had 1 or 2 which weren't as good, but I think for the majority of them, they're pretty stable in terms of the quality of content, information, or the rest of it. The difference in views, they range from 5,000 views to 30,000 views an episode. It's title and thumbnail. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's the only difference. So here's something I want to tackle at the very end of this podcast, and this is how to transition from part-time to full-time in photography, because there is this what's the word for it, this dream that one day you'll make enough money from photography to leave your day job. This is not the case.
You did, though.
No, I didn't.
Ish.
No, not even close. I did the stupid thing. I left my day job with an income of $8,000 a year in photography. And it took me 4 years to get above $8,000. I was skint because photography is expensive. And my day job paid substantially more than $8,000 a year. It was a good day job in London, in a Golders Green, in a posh part of London, in a very brutal industry in medicine. So I left that and I went into photography. You cannot, unless you have a rubbish salary to start with, match your part-time photography salary to your full-time day job. You have to suck it up, go in and suffer. There is a point in it where, like, say you work 40 hours a week in a day job, you've probably got 30 hours spare a week for your photography, but you're tired and it's the wrong hours. So the only way to make the transition is to get rid of the day job. Here's what I would do if I could have my time again. Because what I did, and I'm glad you think I did a good job, Rob, because I didn't. Let me tell you what I did. I finished my last paycheck. I spent my last paycheck. I had no savings, no emergency fund, no backup plan. And I took on a studio and I went and became a photographer. And yes, it worked. It worked out. It only worked out because I had no alternative, no backup plan, and no one to bail me out, and it had to work. That's the only reason it worked, because there's no way it couldn't work. But it could have easily have gone very wrong. And I don't know what would have happened, actually. I wouldn't have had anything, that's for sure. So there's definitely that side of it. If I could do it again, I would save up 2 years' salary. And not say you're on $50,000 a year and that's what you're living on. You don't need to live on $50,000 a year. Get rid of your car payment. Get rid of all your debt. You shouldn't have, by the time you become a photographer, you should have no debt. That includes phone payment plans, car payment, any payment plan. I've seen people with furniture payment plans. If you're doing that, go and watch some finance YouTubers to help you out a little bit. You shouldn't have any payment plans in place. You shouldn't have any debt outside of a mortgage. And even then, you need to check that mortgage is something which is actually a good mortgage, because I've seen some horrific mortgage deals people are on. I'm like, yeah, you'd be better off renting and saving cash on the side than paying that mortgage, because you bought at a bad time, your rate's about to change, and you're about to lose your house, and you've made no profit on the actual value of the house anyway in that time period because you bought at the wrong. Like, check you've got good deals and all these things. But 2 years of savings, then I'd leave my job, knowing that I've got 2 years. And what I would also be doing is, as I start making money, I just put it aside. Don't spend it, because when you get to the end of those 2 years, you ideally want to have year 3 already saved. So you've got your first 2 years to make your third year's salary, because you always need to have 1 year's salary set aside. You don't want to be going into this going, wow, I'm good for the next month. We'll see what happens after that, because that is not a good way to live.
No.
You want a year's salary set aside as a minimum requirement at all times in this industry, because COVID happens, wars happen, you break your leg happens, the industry dies happens, and you need to keep being able to pay for your studio, your salary, and all the rest of it without going, oh, we've had a bad month, we're gone. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, and there's no kind of rhyme or reason how jobs come in either. So
no, I don't know what's happening next month. So we're just about hitting to June, or you're probably in June whilst you're watching this. Currently, today, I've got 5 inquiries, no nailed down jobs. I might not shoot in June, I don't know. And if I do shoot in June, I'll get paid in August, at best. So what, I'm supposed to just tell everyone that I can't pay rent until I get paid? It doesn't work like that. No. You've got to pay your studio bills, all the rest of it. And you've got to keep that cash. So when I get a big job in, I don't go and spend it all. I just put it in the bank. And then my salary comes out each month as it should do. So I do think if you're going to do the part-time to full-time, save up the money first and then go into it. Get rid of all your overheads. The amount of stuff you're paying for. And people are like, I couldn't leave my job. It's $150,000. I'd need to make at least that to be a photographer. If you hate your job and you hate your life, cut down your overheads and take a pay cut. You'll be much happier.
Yeah.
I would, say for example, there's a job on offer for $200,000 a year and it's something I don't want to do. Or I could be a photographer for $50,000 a year. I'd take the $50,000 a year. I'd be a photographer. I'd much rather that. I'd cut my lifestyle down. I'd make some drastic lifestyle changes and live on $50,000 a year instead of 200, because I'd rather have $50,000 and a happy life than 200,000 being miserable.
Yeah, I mean, your general state of well-being has a value.
I think so. Yeah. Any advice for people leaving jobs that you've want to chime in? Just put you on the spot there.
Oh, I mean, obviously I've dabbled.
Have dabbled.
And, it's, you have to find something that you're passionate about, because if you're not, it doesn't work for you.
I agree. If you're doing it just for the money in this industry, that's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah, definitely not. I think, it's the same in anything. All these people I know are like entrepreneurs. As soon as someone says I'm an entrepreneur, I'm like, you're a failed businessman because you're trying to make money. It's like Stabilizer, this guy we knew. He was always on a get-rich-quick scheme of some sort, and guess how poor he was all the time.
Well, I mean, his dad bankrolled him for all of it.
Yeah.
But importantly, like, it was always passive income. Like, I don't want to do any work. I just want money.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how earning money works. You have to put the effort into it.
I think my ethos has always been, what do I want to do with my time? And this is a very privileged position to be in. What do I want to do with my time? How do I want to spend my days? Right, that's what I want to be doing. How can I make it so it's financially viable? Let's look at that. That's what we're going to do. I don't sit there and go, well, I need to make $500,000 a year. How am I going to achieve that? That's not what I'm about. And some folks, that's fine. Everyone's different. But I go, what do I want to do? I want to be creative. I want to live a creative life. I want to live an authentic life. I want to do all these different things with my life. I like to do the school run in the morning. I wake up early. I take the dog out into the garden. We play fetch for a little bit, come inside. I give him breakfast, give the youngest one breakfast. I do the school run. Then me and Teddy drive off to the countryside. We go and walk for an hour and a half, 2 hours in the country. Come back to the studio, have coffee and a protein shake, watch the cycling news, usually, much to Rob's dismay. It's on. It's about to start, actually, in 1 hour. We're back on it for the day. 6 hours of cycling for someone who hates, or doesn't hate, so doesn't have any interest in a very niche sport. I've got the cycling on. I'm in here. I'm doing sketches of stuff I want to create. I'm thinking of fun video ideas I want to do, education platforms I like to make. I'm thinking of all these. And of course, I have a business mind. That helps. And I am good at going, right, this is what I want to do. I want to teach. How can I make that financially viable in the way that I want to do it? I want to create artwork. How can I make that financially viable in the way I want to do it? And it's looking at all these different things. I want to leave at 5:30. I want to go home. I want to have dinner with the kids. I want to do the bedtime routine with the kids, which they're slowly getting to an age where they don't need that. Then I've done all that. I get them to bed, 8 o'clock. I go out on a dog walk for an hour, come back, go to the gym for an hour, come back, watch a bit of TV, go to bed. That's my life. That's the life I want. And I work out, what do I need to sell in order to do that?
Yeah.
And it's my work commercially. That's what I need to sell. I need to be able to do ad campaigns to then be able to live the lifestyle I want to live. And of course, there's compromise. I don't get to do it all my way. It's like we're in here on a Sunday filming.
Well, no, right. You say, again, we're both on 7 days this week. So
yeah, and I think next week I'm on a 6-day week, and but then I get to take time off when I want to as well. There's swings and roundabouts, I suppose. So yeah, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Thanks for stopping by again, everybody.
Yeah. Stay classy, San Diego.
I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.